Hello everyone, I'm back from the busy life that I live, as I'm sure many of you live as well, to give another game review. Today we're going to be talking about Kirby's Adventure on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So without further ado, let's get started. So, Kirby's Adventure, fresh off the success of the 1992 first Kirby game, Kirby's Dream Land, for the Game Boy, a well-known guy by the name of Masahiro Sakurai made Kirby's Adventure for the Nintendo Entertainment System the year later, 93. Why they made it for the Nintendo rather than the Super Nintendo, the reason is because the Nintendo had more power than the Game Boy, and the programmers at the time were already skilled with the Nintendo hardware because it had been out for so long, so they decided to make it for that. Which, in the long run, turned out well. I mean, we all saw how that played out. Not only that, but with its impressive visuals, Kirby's Adventure was not only the first game to have Kirby in color, but the creator always intended Kirby to be pink. So, as a surprise of other staff, hey, we all loved that lovable little pink puffball. I found out about the game as a gift, I got the 3D Classics version of the game for 3DS that allows me to play the game in 3D, which by the way is really cool. And then eventually I got around to getting the original Nintendo cartridge, and it was fun to play. I will definitely say that. And so we will delve into all the specifics of the game. Well, not too specific, but I'll go over every single part of the game and critique it or praise it depending on how good or bad it is. So let's do that. So first, as per usual, we're going to talk about the gameplay. So, simple gameplay of Kirby. It's like a platformer with a bit of fighting involved. You get to the end goal, go through a few rooms, fight enemies, jump, fly, inhale enemies, and even use their powers as your own. Get hit, you lose the power unless you can suck that star back up. The first levels start out, like would a normal game. They start out easy, to kind of start out if you're new, and then it gets progressively harder as you go through the 7 worlds. They have boss fights, they have harder enemies that have better power-ups in the levels, they have mini games that you can use to get points or extra lives, they have a little mini game at the end of each level that you can go up to the highest tier and get a 1-up, which, by the way, is very fun to do. I'd say the difficulty itself is probably one of the best parts about it. It's not too easy and it's not too hard. As you go through, like I said, it gets harder, but it's never to a point where it's too hard. As Nintendo difficulty goes, the older the game, the harder the game is. But it's not too bad. And I have been saying that a lot the past minute, but it's true. The game's bosses, as you're first starting out, when you are trying to figure out how to beat them, they can be a little intimidating, yes. But honestly, they're not that hard once you start figuring it out. And some of the game can be frustrating because of its difficulty. I've had my share of moments of dying against Meta Knight, or King DDD, or the Nightmare. Or that one time I died against the Sun and Moon in World 3, I think it was? I can't remember. But, yeah, I've had my share of moments where I died, but overall the game is not too hard that casual players will be able to breeze through it. The levels are short, They're not too long, they're not too short. They're like a good length for how old the game is. So the levels are somewhat on the short side. The boss fights are not too bad. And the gameplay itself is very intriguing. So there's that. Another thing in this game, aside from the normal gameplay, is the secrets, where if you go into secret rooms or go to fake blocks or whatever that allow you to hit switches that allow you to access secret rooms in the map area, and they can allow you to access warp areas so you can warp quickly from specific worlds, or allow you to access the 3 mini games that are in there, or other things that just make for, you know, completion percentage for those of you who are interested in it like I am, or just for extra stuff to get more extra lives, basically, or quick travel. I thought the secrets to the secret areas to add more depth to the game and make it more than just simple get to the end. They have like another optional objective to it that allow you to do more with it, which I think is pretty cool. I gotta say one thing about the secrets though. Some of them are really hard to get. Like some of them you have to be really fast. You gotta know the enemy patterns so you can dodge them accordingly. There's one of them you gotta be really fast in order to get to the cannon. It's like super annoying. That's probably my one gripe with it, is the secrets. So some of the secrets in the harder stages, I gotta say, they could have made it a little bit easier, because some of those are, I gotta be honest, near impossible. The fact that I was able to pull it off was crazy enough. That's not a brag in any way, I'm just saying it's really hard. And then I will talk about the power-ups. It was probably like the big thing about this game. Like I said, Kirby's Dream Land that came before it, but that one did not have power-ups, whereas this one actually introduced that. So there's many different power-ups from inhaling different enemies, like the sword, the cutter, the ball, the beam, the laser, sleep. Yes, there's a sleep one. Tornado, high jump, hammer. There's more. I can't name them all, but you get the idea. And there's even, if you inhale 2 enemies with 2 different powers at once, you can actually do what's called the mix, and it'll shuffle around each power up until it lands on one, and that's the one that you get, which I think is pretty cool. Some of the power ups serve no purpose, but I mean, if you like to use it, no judgment there. But you know, some of them have their purposes, some don't. Some are pretty cool, some are not. I'm looking at you, Sleepability. I don't think you serve any purpose. But that's aside from the point. I think the abilities, as a general thing, are really cool. They have a lot of variety. Basically, pick your, weapon of choice. Another thing I want to talk about is the extra mode. Extra mode is something that will be accessed after you already beat the game. So you basically get half the amount of life that you would get normally. The water bottles that you get in game, they heal you 1 bar instead of 2. Basically, the game itself is just harder because you get half of the life. Can you still play it normally? Yes. Also, the mini games are all on the hardest setting. They're all on the hardest setting. So it's going to be harder to get more lives. They do that on purpose. But if you manage to beat it, kudos to you. Basically, extra game is hero mode of recent Zelda games. And good comparison off the top of my head. Do I think it's cool? Yes. Would I do it myself? I'm more of a casual person. But for those of you who do, that's cool. Is it a cool, challenging feature? Yeah. adds even more to the replayability of it. Next, we'll talk about the mini games. So those 3 mini games include Duel, the crane one, and the egg catching one. So first we'll talk about the Duel one. Basically, don't fire too early, don't fire too late. You must fire as soon as the opponent draws out their gun. You're too late, the enemy will beat you. If you're too early, you lose. So that's how that works. And the crane one is pretty simple. Line up the crane with either the smaller Kirby or the bigger Kirby. The smaller one is worth 1 life. The bigger one is worth 2 lives. So I definitely try to go for that bigger one if you're a little more experienced with it. And with that bigger one, you gotta be very, very close to pixel perfect. You don't have to be pixel perfect, but you gotta be very close to it. It's like almost precise. It's like that sensitive. But if you can nail it, you get 2 extra lives. And then the egg catching one. The egg catching one is quite a tough one, but I'd say the hardest of the 3 is the Duel. The egg catching one, basically you hold open Kirby's mouth and eat all the eggs while closing the mouth to avoid the bombs. You eat a bomb, it automatically ends from there, and whatever you've caught will be what your score is. The more eggs you catch, the more your score, or possibly 1-ups if you get enough. But basically just try to eat as many eggs as you can while avoiding the bombs. So those are the 3 mini games. Add another level of fun to the already great Kirby game. And I gotta say, I enjoy all of them except the Duel one, because that one's freaking hard. But yeah. And next, the boss fights. So there's 8 boss fights, the last one being 2 phases, because that's usually how final bosses are. They have multiple phases. But the boss fights are pretty intricate. They have quite a bit to them, but the general thing is inhale a star when you see one come up, or something else that you can inhale, and shoot it at the boss. Or if you have a power-up, use that and make sure you don't get hit. So you do that, you beat the boss. The bosses, while some of them are harder, some of them are easy, they're pretty fun. I have to admit, I always enjoy boss fights in any game, really. They have that sense of an enemy that just won't go down as easy as the others. So it's always rewarding when you beat one. Feel a sense of accomplishment. And the fact that it also has a versus boss mode whenever you beat the game, where you could basically do a boss rush, just go one after the other of the bosses, no healing, straight through. It's a tough mode. I've never actually beaten versus boss mode, but I'm sure there are some of you out there who have, and honestly, I think it's pretty cool, the mode itself. And next, we're gonna talk about the soundtrack. Yes, Nintendo games have killer soundtrack along with Sega before recent years. Nintendo made a killer soundtrack for Kirby's Adventure. Even though it's all in 8-bit sounds and stuff like that, it's still good. And as usual, here are some examples. First, and this one is going to sound really basic, the title screen music. title screen music really kind of already gets you a feel of what the game is going to be like. It has that light, fun kind of music that kind of tells you what the game is going to be like, and it's very light, has a little bit of a like light and fun tone to it. It has you anticipating more. And next, the Vegetable Valley music. That one, even though you mainly hear it in the first level, it really has you excited for what's about to come, and you're ready to just get right into it and start jumping around, beating enemies, and all that stuff. It has a nice fast pace to it, really getting you in there. It has a nice kind of like a happier tone to it, like the excitement is mounting. So go out on your adventure. And the last song we are going to do is the recreation of the Kirby Dreamland music. Kirby Games been providing their fan service since 1993. This level is a complete homage to the first game, Kirby's Dream Land, not only with the black and white, but also with the music too. The music is like half a step down from the Green's music in Kirby's Dream Land, but regardless, it still has a nice feel to it. It still sounds just as great, and people love it. It's good. It's real good. And next, the replayability. This game is so fun that I would just play through it again and again and again. The boss fights are fun. The gameplay itself is cool. A little bit frustrating, but really cool. The mini games are cool. And the story itself, while it's very simple, it's nice. I like it. The fun colors, the nice simple gameplay. That's the thing. Simple controls and simple gameplay. Love it. The replayability is completely there. You can play it as many times as you want. The levels are short, the bosses are fun. You could just keep playing it. It has high replayability because of how great it is. And so now we've come to that point where the rating. So, with the great gameplay, the cool power-ups, the mini-games, the awesome boss fights, the killer soundtrack, I gotta say, I think we're looking at another 4.5 here. 4.5 stars. It's a lot of fun. Definitely one of the greats of video games. There's no denying that. Could it have some something better? I mean, yeah, some of the secrets could have been, you know, a little more forgiving. But needless to say, the rest of it was pretty good. I think it's good. Like, it's a cool game. Like, I don't really know what else to say about it. And with that being said, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and if you made it all the way to the end here, just remember to hit that like button, subscribe, watch all the way to the end, help me get into the algorithm, help me and other small creators by because we want to try to have a shot too. So hit the like button, subscribe, and thank you so much for those of you watching. I do greatly appreciate it. I know a lot of people say that in their videos, but I genuinely mean it. Thank you. And let me know in the comments what game you want me to review next. I'll see ya.